Welcome back, students. In this session, we will talk in detail about social media marketing. Now, with the rising popularity of social media, we know that this is a medium which has offered multiple opportunities, plethora of opportunities to the firms to take advantage of this platform to connect with their users and consumers. So, let us understand what is social media and what is in fact social media marketing. So, this is a form of internet marketing that utilizes social networking sites as marketing tools, and by making use of these sites as marketing tools, the firms are able to derive traffic, brand exposure, and are able to interact with the consumers through social media. Now, when we talk about social media, students, one has to understand that we are talking about all that is possible by making use of various tools over the net. So, there are certain YouTube videos, there is a Facebook that you are using on an active basis, there is LinkedIn, there is Twitter, and there is so much that is happening on this social media. What is basically the objective that the firms are using and tapping on this social media? We have seen that the social media is not only used to build the brands, but at times we see that the brands have created a complete story of their own. They have gone in for positioning their brand in a different manner, or probably repositioned their brand in a different manner using the social media. A lot of ideas can get generated through the social media, and you can use those ideas and implement those ideas in the form of embedding small videos. You can post those videos on social media and can stay connected with your consumers. There's a lot of innovation and product development which is happening, and all that product development can be shared, and all those innovative ideas, especially using a technological interface, is something which is possible when you try to connect on the social media. You can understand the consumer voice through the social media because of the triadic form of relationship that happens. It's not only a one way information flow that happens in case of traditional medium where the company is talking to the consumer. Unlike this situation, in case of social media, the consumers also have a voice of their own. They can participate in so many ways, and they can involve and engage themselves in whatever activity the firm is doing by liking, sharing, posting, tweeting, retweeting, putting up their views, talking with the communities, and raising a voice, or coming up with a topic and initiating discussion about an event, a phenomena, an idea. So, there is so much which can happen which results in a dialogue, and it's not a one way communication which is happening as it happens in case of traditional marketing. One can also make use of search engine optimization. We know that there is a search engine, and every day we use those search engines like Google, Yahoo, and so many other platforms in order to search for so many things. And the firms can make optimization techniques. They can make use of optimization techniques, and they can hire search engine optimizers who would ensure that the searches related to the websites, the pages, the companies will pop up immediately. And that particular facility and that particular access is available on this particular platform. So, you can really take advantage and reap benefits out of the optimizing techniques when you are trying to connect with your user base using this digital platform. So, engaging with the consumers has become all the more easy. and all the more interesting on both the sides. Now, when you are engaged with the consumers and you are actually in some of the ways you are co-creating, you are involving the consumers, and the consumer participation has gone up many folds, and all this has not only resulted in a better satisfaction which you are able to roll out to your consumer, but also is a win-win strategy in terms of giving more profits and more user base, more connected user base to the firms. There is a lot of partnerships which are also happening on the social media. So, there are tie-ins and there are ventures who are collaborating and co-creating and sharing the resources using the social media. So, when we talk about social media, it can be used in so many ways, and it provides a advantage not only to the users who are staying alert and who are active on the social media, but also for the firms who are actively using the social media to connect and engage with their consumers. When we look at the strategy, what exactly needs to be done by the firms in order to take maximum advantage and to accomplish the goals that they have formulated for themselves, and because of which they are using the social media as one of the strong digital mediums in order to connect with the users. One has to look at a cyclical process. It's a process. So, when it is a process, it is going to have a series of steps and it is going to move in a cycle. Why it is going to move in a cycle? Because not only it is continuous, but it is also circular in nature. So, it is going to start from one place and one step and is going to take a complete circle and come back with the same thing, which again has to be repeated. So, there is not only a continuity function which is embedded in it, but also a circular flow which is embedded when you craft a social media strategy. So, if one looks at the social media strategy, one would have an idea of 6-step cycle which is involved. So, the digital firm has to follow, or the digital marketer has to follow the 6 stages while coming up with its social media strategy. As a first step of the cycle, we would be doing listening. So, the brands have to listen, the firms have to listen. After that, it is goal setting. Once you set the goals, one has to come up with the strategy which will help you to accomplish those goals. So, what should be done and how one should strategize so that the goals can be met eventually. You have to implement that strategy, measure the extent to which those strategies and the implementation of those strategies have enabled the firm to accomplish the goals, and this review and this measurement stage would also help the firms to improvise and improve their strategy, and that improvement would again require some sort of a feedback for which they have to again go back to the users and listen to them, and therefore this becomes a cyclical process which is also of a continuous nature. Let us look at each of the stages which are involved in crafting a social media strategy in detail. Let us first talk about listening. What is listening? Now, students, you need to understand that when you are dealing with a social media scape, listening is more important than saying anything. Listening means that the firms would be using various platforms on the internet to listen to what the consumer has to say. Why this is important? Because when you listen, this helps the firm to come up with a holistic strategy, come up with a plan which will enable you to connect with the consumers in accordance with what they expect you to share. So, an active cross-platform holistic listening is a key to success. When we talk about cross-platform listening, what is this? This is the art of listening to and understand that the audience is saying something for the benefit of the firm, so that the firm is going to have an idea and is going to mine the data which they have collected about the users and user insights and user expectations to really come up with a copy which will effectively tap the consumer expectations and what they expect from the communication that the marketer would be making with them. Holistic listening is again an art of listening about the market, also knowing about the industry trends, what is happening, forecasting in advance without being very brand specific. So, you are in general looking at what is happening and then you are trying to listen into what are the expectations, what all is going around, what is the industry trend, what are the some of the insights that you are getting from the consumers and how you can leverage on those insights and talk to them if some of those features and some of those characteristics that they are looking about or they are expecting from the firms is possible for you to roll out in form of your product and service. The real value in social media, as I said, students, comes from what we hear and it is not from what we say. Listening helps you to identify the questions that we didn't know that we need to understand. In some of the cases, we find that not only it helps and it provides certain benefits to the consumers, but we also see that the brands have leveraged and brands have taken lot of help of this listening exercise to really come up with something unique. Like the brands, when there was a point when the brands started rolling out the payment gateways and there were so many e-wallets that were available, the brands could connect because they could listen and they could understand why people are using these payment wallets and these payment gateways and e-wallets, because they were actually considering it as an alternative to carrying cash. We also listen to this and we also try to participate and rope in the consumers, because we know that this is how they would be using and why they would be using a brand. So, the consumer feedback helps you to improvise and come back and craft a message and craft a social media strategy that would really be in sync with the consumer's expectations, because it would be drawn on the basis of the insights that you would be getting from listening to them. Listening also helps you to see the how well the brand is doing. So, the health of the brand in terms of how well it is doing in the market can also be accessed, and there are lot of ways in which one can measure the PR results, how well it is being accepted, what are the consumers' sentiments about that particular brand, what is the consumers' receptivity. And a lot of techniques are available, like sentiment analysis is available, which gives you what are the consumers' sentiments, what they really associate the brand with, how they feel about the brand or a topic which is gaining momentum on the social media. So, by listening all to that conversations, again in future the brand message or the message in general can be improvised on and it can be attuned to the consumer's voice. It also helps you to generate the leads, and not only lead generation, but we have seen in some of the previous session how lead generation is an important exercise, because it is conversion that you want at the end of the day. So, if you are not able to generate the leads, you will not be able to take certain steps which will help the firm in converting these leads in future. It also helps, listening also helps you to develop certain insights for the new product and how to market and place those new products, and what kind of improvements in the existing products people are referring to or people are expecting, and how you can connect with the consumers telling them that this is the improvisation and this is the improvement in the existing product that you were looking for, and therefore the products that are available in the social media are a better version of the existing products, and how they can satisfy the consumers and how they can provide the gratification or the solution to their problem. This whole also helps you to have a seamless integration. You can link so many pages, you can link so many websites together, and therefore it also helps you to come up with a link or a network of your own. So the firms can also have a network by linking their websites with the other websites and been linking pages on their websites. Now, there are many tools which the firms can use in order to listen into the consumers. We see that there are a lot of Google alerts that you find which can help you in defining your search terms. It notifies you whenever it pops up. Any new content which is related is also coming up. There are Google Trends which show how the term is being used in relation to the total search which is being used. There is also a Twitter search which is available. Some paid listening tools are also available, like Meltwater is there, which provides access to the intelligence on communication which is happening with the brand, or Radian 6 is available for the consumers, and all these tools eventually help the consumers to talk and stay connected, and at the same time help the firms to listen on to the consumers and gather that particular data, and then eventually mine and analyze that data, and get some insights from that particular data to have more focused interaction with the consumers on this wide platform which is social media. The second step of the social media strategy cycle is setting your goal, setting the purpose. Now, based on the results that you get from your listening exercise, now marketeers can understand where the sentiments are going, what is the active conversation all about. There can be both positive as well as negative sentiments, positive messages and negative messages, positive interactions and negative interactions that you would get to listen. Now, based on that, the marketeer has to decide to what extent the positive side can be more strengthened, whereas the negative side has to be limited and it has to be reduced. So, if there is something positive which is being talked about and you have listened to those positive comments and positive sentiments, that should be the way forward. That gives an idea to the firm that you are moving in the right direction, and you should keep your social media strategy aligned with whatever positive you get to listen to that. Similarly, any negative feedback or any negative sentiment or any negative response should be an alert to the firms in terms of reducing the exposure in that direction, or reducing the use of that particular form or that particular tool or that kind of approach while you are trying to connect with your audience. In specific cases, students, we also find that when you set the goals, it helps you to understand a lot about the consumers. As I said, that it can also help you to understand and reposition your brands in so many cases. If we take a specific case of an automobile company, we found that that particular company changed its strategies and had to go on with a complete repositioning of not only the brand but also with the brand communication strategy, because it wanted to connect with the consumers in a different way after listening on to the response. So, it set the goal that yes, now from a particular way in which the brand is perceived, a change in the perception is required, and that was carried out on through its social media campaign. The third stage in the cycle is to strategize. Now, when we talk about the strategy, we have to look at the social media strategy from three perspectives. One, what should be my strategy with respect to the content? What kind of content should go on social media? Students, if you remember, we have had a complete session on content marketing, where we said that it is not only the platform but also what you say and how the content is created and the content is distributed and amplified using a platform that has a long way to go in your digital marketing efforts. So, again, it is in the overall social media strategy, the content has to be created, and the content has to be created keeping in mind the social media platform which you would be using. So, not only the platform but also for whom the content is to be created, with whom I am going to do this, talking. So, it is an interwoven strategy which has to be crafted taking into account three main elements: the content, the target group, and the platform for which the content would be created, and on which the platform on which my target audience is placed or is situated. So, the content marketing, not only it forms the nucleus of my social media marketing efforts, it is also something which is going to provide me with a huge potential to have a connect with my target audience. An ideal, or say the optimum kind of a content strategy, is one which is going to receive a word of mouth publicity. That is, it is going to automatically give me a earned media from key influencers in the industry. Now, we know that because we are dealing with digital marketing, here the influencers are going to play a role, and when we were talking about the target audience, we found that it is basically the customers and the loyal base of customers who eventually in the latter part of their consumer journey advocate the brand, and it is the advocacy by the loyal user base sometimes who also come up with their own user generated content, or they emerge as an influencer, and these are the people who are going to give you a lot of earned media when it comes to the social media marketing. So, the content also comes from these influencers or these consumers who are present on the social media in the form of user generated content or in the form of other messages and the videos that the influencers are going to post, and they are going to talk about this in their blogs and vlogs. The content should be of a compelling nature, and the content should match with the vision and mission of the organization. The content has to be unique to the organization, has to change according to the needs and requirements of the organization. You cannot have a content which is more moving in the line of one size fits all. The content has to be improvised because it has to resonate not only with the expectations of the audience but also has to be in line with the audience interest. Here, students, I would like to draw your attention on something which is related to the second element of your strategizing, which is the target audience. A lot of what you do in case of your target audience mapping and creation of the persona also helps you to understand the audience interest, and once you understand these audience interests, their likes, their dislikes, their connects, their whole psychographic makeup, you would be able to come up with the content which is most aligned to your target group. Now, when we talk about content, we need to also look at the ways in which the content can be handled. So, there are certain content approaches which a digital marketer can make use of. The first such kind of a content approach is 70-20-10 content approach. The other can be 50-50 content approach. We will also look at the use of mnemonics, which are the memory aids, some quick tools that you use on the social media which gives a very good recall to the consumers because they can be memorized very easily, like some acronym that you can use or certain small tools or hashtags that we usually use, because they not only become very viral and very popular, but also it's a great way of remembering and memorizing something about the brand. The brands also use lot of storytelling in their content, and the storytelling then becomes one of the great content approaches. When you talk about 70-20-10, which is again, as I said, it can be one of the content approaches. And repetitive content becomes very monotonous at times. It can be very off-putting to the audience that you are talking about the same thing again and again. So while it is good to experiment, one cannot always talk about something new and random. One cannot always take risk with trying a different content and then see whether that particular content turns out to be to consumers liking or not. So you try to strike a balance, and this is the approach 70-20-10, which helps you to come up with a balancing situation in coming up with the content, or helping the firm in coming up with the content which has some of the aspects of being regular, while some of the aspects of the content, some of the portion of the content can be new and innovative in nature. So the content is having a healthy mix of the content which is having a low risk. So usually 70% of the content goes, which is a regular content, which is an everyday content which can be used to engage the consumers in a better way. And because this is a everyday or a regular kind of a content, so the digital marketeer is not taking that kind of risk in incorporating that kind of message or incorporating that content in its social media strategy. When you have the 70% of the content, the remaining 20% of the total goes to the content which carries a medium risk. So it is new, but it is not so new that you are putting the whole campaign to a risk. It is, it also has a kind of a connect with the consumer. The consumer can still resonate and can feel involved with that particular thing. So you will be talking about maybe some promotional offer or a contest, or something which is going to entice the consumer. And because the contest or this kind of strategy is not always open, so it will also be something new to look forward to. And then the remaining 10% will be devoted to a high risk content where you can improvise and you can talk about something which is new and something which is interesting and novel. So only 10% of the content would carry that risk. With this, students, we have covered the 3 stages of the social media marketing cycle. We will come back with more stages in the future lecture. Thank you.